Hello everyone, in this episode we answer the question, are any of the phenomena innate? It has been proven that there are evolutionary reasons. Do atheists and evolutionists believe blindly to fill in their knowledge gaps? I mean, when atheists denied the existence of God, they also denied the innate disposition that God created humans with, and fell into this. And in the predicament that they have no explanation for any of the innate phenomena, like the inclination towards religion, or immoral tendencies, feelings of purpose, free will, instincts. It all appears to be non-material phenomena. Therefore, they sought material explanations for it and claimed that all these phenomena have material causes within the framework of Darwinian evolution. So either the specific instinctive phenomenon results from a specific gene or a set of genes, or they might originate from other traits related to genes that have been selected by nature, or that the certain natural phenomena have been selected by Darwinian evolution without us knowing how these phenomena originally appeared. But she appeared, then got elected. And the question is, do they have scientific evidence for this claim? Or, the third possibility, we do not know how it appeared, referring to the unknown, a phenomena that neither atheists nor believers in God accept when it comes to explaining occurrences. The explanation that can be tested is linking natural phenomena with colors. Jeanette, to claim that a trait in a creature is linked to a specific gene, there are specific scientific methods to prove this connection. The first method is adding a gene to the fertilized egg, or Dalish's oath, and checking if this leads to the emergence or disappearance of another trait. And this is possible in animals, like the so-called gene knockout mice, for example. But it hasn't been conducted in humans. Plus, it's influenced by complex factors such as compensatory mechanisms, which may compensate for the deleted gene. For example, the possible method in humans is to conduct a genetic scan and prove them that those characterized by a certain tendency they have are the people who do not possess this trait or tendency, don't have their gene represented differently from others in what is known as epigenetics. And this method linked some physical traits and diseases to genetic causes. All right, we return in the end. And atheists and Darwinists applied Darwinism to everything, and Darwin observed these inherent phenomena. There is a long list of books based on this principle, such as The God Gene, the Evolutionary Basis of Moral Tendency, The Evolutionary Basis of Freedom, Is It a Darwinian Perspective on Love from Parents, The Development of Sexual and Non-Sexual Desire, and much more. Now, let's set aside the Darwinian claim that there are traits that appeared in ways we don't understand but were selected for. Because we don't understand is not a testable scientific statement. It remains linked to the genes, so we say, based on the advanced scientific methods to prove the genetic relationship to traits, is there any evidence, teacher, for these specific prayers? Has any gene responsible for any instinctive tendency been identified? And shocking beasts. No, these are just claims with no scientific basis, essentially a blind Darwinian faith. So these works go beyond the question of whether there is an actual material cause for the innate phenomenon and consider the answer to be settled. Its existence is an unquestionable reality. Moving to topics like discussing the benefit of having an innate phenomenon, evolving in barren rhetoric, this Darwinism for everything without evidence, even some critical evolutionists themselves criticized it. Among them is Professor of Environment and Evolution, the atheist Darwinian Jerry Coyne, who in his book titled Why Evolution is True, Coyne said, there is an increasingly troubling trend among psychologists, biologists, and philosophers to drone on about every aspect of human behavior, turning those studies into a different game, scientific collectivism, reimagining the ways that things might have developed based on wide-ranging imagination is not a relationship. They are just stories. Well, as an exception, we see Dean Hammer, who unlike other authors, talked about a specific gene responsible for religious tendency in humans. But Hammer, as we will see, is the champion of claims without evidence. But the rest of the researchers refute it. He based his book, The Divine Gene, on a single claim study that was never published, and its results were never replicated by any other researcher. and then try repeating it as instructed, like a chant. Even some atheists themselves mocked his claims, saying there is no God and no divine gene. The truth is, those who claim that a specific gene can be found associated with a particular innate trait, these people, either they are disgracefully ignorant about genetics, no matter what titles they hold, PhDs or individuals, that they are deceiving an audience. Our knowledge for years about the connection of genes with characteristics has been known for years. I agree with many of our views. As shown in this scientific paper published in the renowned journal Nature in 2008, which demonstrates that decoding the genetic code in the Human Genome Project, our hopes were dashed when we discovered that even physical traits like height and diseases are like height. Mental disorders like schizophrenia, which appears to have a hereditary link, cannot even be attributed to religion, not even related to specific genes, and that the matter is much more intricate than what was taught in schools and universities. Other studies indicate that a single behavioral trait might support it, avec une molecular diagnostic might support it. And it is linked to thousands of genes, each contributing to this trait. They contribute slightly, but studies acknowledge the impossibility of identifying these supposed genes. Even if we accept that there is a connection, it's clear that the topic is extremely complex and obscure. But then people like Hammer come to tell you about the divine gene. And you see headlines in Western media like this specific gene makes you act like a monkey. They might decide if you are going to vote for Republicans or Democrats, simplifying the topic and mocking and deceiving people's minds. We are not surprised that this ridiculous claim is believed by some young people who are far from the scientific community. Isn't it truly amazing that people with the most basic scientific principles can discuss or label it? Doctors or medical students. And before I continue or treat myself, I do not see any theoretical obstacle to God creating genes in humans that help form innate tendencies. In the fourth episode of the series, we explained why. If it exists, it is merely another proof of the existence and greatness of the Creator. But the real flaw, he is very flawed. It is for the materialists to base their interpretation of natural phenomena on the existence of these genes or on evolutionary methods that have not been discovered yet. After confirming the existence of the man, they have no proof of it, so they deny what all the evidence supports using it on the pretext of what there is no proof of. What's really flawed is atheists are denying our metaphysical belief in the existence of God, despite evidence supporting it. Meanwhile, they have no problem believing in the mystical existence of these genes or interpretations that have not yet been discovered and may never be discovered. They have no proof of it. What's flawed is that atheists claim our belief in the existence of the Creator is like filling knowledge gaps. That is, we don't know the cause of some phenomena, so we assume God's existence to explain it. And this is not correct in the Islamic doctrinal system. While the atheists practice this blind Darwinian faith to explain phenomena they fail to understand, and they carried their materialism in its interpretation. They denied the existence of the Creator, so they had to find a material substitute. A material alternative that negates spirit and nature. Based on this alternative, they built classes and claims and adorees and gave lectures. No, it's just a big illusion. Is there any blind faith more than this? Is there any more rental of the mind than this? Is there any scientific bias? And more than that, are these accusations against Muslims more deserving to be directed towards these atheists and Darwinists? They claim there is a conflict between Islam and reality, and a conflict between Islam and experimental science. Even though they say similar things, humans have no free will. Rather, they are driven by genes beyond their control. At the peak of the confrontation, the reality imposes that humans have free will no matter what. The disrespect for experimental science is evident in the claims about these genes. This is all a consequence of stubbornly denying the natural evidence of the existence of God, unfortunately. We're approaching the end of this discussion about innate evidence. We don't want to digress much and stray from the topic, but we'd like to give an example of the deception practiced by atheists and Darwinists in its name. It's the justification of homosexuality by claiming a genetic basis for it. Let's see one final example of the consequences of denying the inherent nature of human instincts and attempting to explain them in purely materialistic terms. And that is what we will discuss in the next episode, God willing. Peace be upon you and God's mercy.